Ladies and gentlemen, this is internet personality Vangelus, and when Transformers Generations introduced Legends 2-packs in 2013, of course, there was immediately an Optimus Prime. But hey, this remains the only official toy of this particular IDW Prime design, and it comes with friggin' Roller. Not IDW Roller, but let's get to the review. Optimus has a very pleasant little truck mode, all boxy and wind-vaned as you'd expect, with incredibly obvious robot feet on the rear end that I find myself excusing mostly due to the figure's price point. A fair number of details are picked out in silver and metallic blue on the front surface, along with those yellow Optimus top lights that always try to make an appearance. As for Roller, he's an adorable little armored SUV. There are twin booster things in back and some similar front-side paint to the stuff seen on Optimus, highlighting the windshield and grille. The included rifle can peg onto Prime's vehicle roof if that's your thing, but it can also peg onto Roller's roof if you want all the accessories kept together as a separate unit. A quote-unquote hidden feature lies in those two tabs on Roller's front bumper, which can mount within two slots on the rear end of Prime's truck form, kinda like a trailer, if a trailer was a small SUV, sometimes with a gun on top. This guy doesn't stray very far from the classic Optimus Prime transformation skeleton. His arms and legs come from the spots you totally expect them to come from. He has a torso twist and bumper backpack that call back to the 2006 classics Voyager. His most unique aspects are the pectoral flaps and those shoulder flaps. This is an Optimus with deep-seated interest in body flaps. As for Roller, get ready. Boom! Did you blink? You blinked, didn't you? As a Legends price point toy, Optimus has a decent-looking robot mode. His shoulders are a little too wide and his head is a little too small. This is pre-Cosmos. The only thing that I can't let go of is the awkward way the toy tries to do this IDW design's exposed chest symbol. It just ends up looking flappy and half-transformed in the pectoral area. On the bright side, a ton of silver paint details bring this mode to life, particularly on the calves. On the downside, the silver facial paint apps are messy and give Optimus a very dead look in his eyes. Roller has got a great robot mode surface sculpt on the underside of his vehicle mode. It's a shame that nothing past his face is actually painted. The black arms and blue helmet help out, but the solid gray body and legs cheapen his visuals a great deal. They're that particular hue of unpainted gray that wipes out detail sculpt at a glance. Optimus has a big black rifle which he can hold happily via a 5mm peg. However, there's also a 3mm peg if you want to hand the weapon off to Roller. Teamwork! Speaking of teamwork, Roller can auto-morph into a third mode, actually transforming this time to become a double-barreled cannon for Prime. You can slot the black rifle into the front of that cannon to make the gun even longer, though the parts fit is real loose on my copy of the set. Never fear though, there's also a 3mm peg hole to add the rifle as a third barrel instead of a barrel extension. There are a great many options, almost bafflingly so. This stuff is so annoying because this is so almost cool, and then there's nowhere for it to click in, and it ends up looking messy and a touch unfinished. What a bummer. His head can swivel left and right, which is not so much a bummer, and if you don't mind his collar moving with him, you can even get him to look down a touch, although he might get lost behind these windows. These windows are just... it's a shame, because I like a whole lot of what they're doing except for this part where they don't really lock in place. His shoulders have got ball socket joints, a little bit of impediment going up this way unless you flip that up, then you can go all the way, and I don't mind that compromise so much. His elbows are ball jointed, which means they have a built-in bicep swivel. A little bit high, but I can deal with it. He doesn't have a waist joint, but he has an implied sort of swivel because of his transformation joint here. It's just if you're using this as a backpack, it can't come with him. If you just leave it down here, then, you know, Bob is your uncle, I suppose. I mean, if you don't have an uncle named Bob, then I have some real weird news for you. His hips are ball socket jointed, so they can go forward and backward, and he can do a pretty decent, not quite the splits. His knees are ball jointed. They do not have a super deep bend, like that's not quite 90 degrees, but there is an implied thigh swivel due to the ball socket nature, and that's about it. This guy was in the first wave of the 2-pack Legends, and he didn't really set the tone for what that price point would eventually become capable of, I feel. I wouldn't say he's, like, ridiculously weak as far as the layout and range of his posability. I would just say that his lack of locking pectorals makes his arms feel messy, and it makes him just look a little messy from the wrong angles where it looks like this is just like an untucked shirt kind of thing. So, sorry Optimus, you are not the star of the line. This ain't a great set of toys. Don't get me wrong, it's a survivable Legend-scale Optimus Prime placeholder, and still one of the only ways to have a representation of this particular IDW design, but it feels old within its own era, having been outdone by his wave-mate Bumblebee and outclassed by the fresh Legends era that began 2 waves later. I think I'd feel warmer to the figure if the pectoral flaps hadn't been so botched in execution. I mean, yes, I could just leave them closed and try to ignore the painted and tampograph detail within, and he pulls off a lot of neat play pattern stuff with Roller, but as time marches on, this is the first of the thrilling 30-era Legends toys to immediately begin to show his age. Anyway, this has been Internet Personality Vangelus, and guess what? I have Combiner Wars Legends to review. This video may well have happened for that reason, more so than an archival one. Get ready to huff and puff and pipe.